The Illusionist of Wall Street, A World Built on Lies. December 11th, 2008. Federal agents arrive at a luxurious penthouse on Manhattan's Upper East Side. Inside sits an aging man in a designer robe, calm, quiet, waiting. "Gentlemen," he says, "I knew you were coming." The man's name is Bernard Lawrence Madoff, and what he's about to confess will become the largest financial fraud in human history. A $65 billion illusion, a financial nuclear bomb, and for thousands of victims across the globe, life will never be the same again. The making of a charmer. 1938, 1960. Long before the mansions and Wall Street offices, Bernard Madoff was just a quiet boy from Queens, New York, born in 1938 to Sylvia and Ralph Madoff. Bernie was raised in a modest Jewish household during the Great Depression. His father ran a small, failing business. His mother, a sharp woman, deeply interested in finance. But there was one thing Bernie learned from a young age. Appearances mattered more than reality. He was not the smartest in class. A gift for persuasion, for performance, and in a post-war America obsessed with success, that was enough. He wasn't chasing money. He was chasing power, respect, control. Building the Mirage World, 1960, 1980. In 1960, with just $5,000 saved from lifeguarding and installing sprinklers, 22-year-old Bernie Madoff opened his own firm, Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities, LLC, from a small office in Manhattan. He promised friends and family he could beat the market, and at first he did play it straight. He took risks. He learned fast. He got in early on electronic trading. An edge few others had. Clients came in. Word spread by the 1970s. Madoff was a rising star. And then came the first deception. Madoff started a secret side fund. But unlike his public business, this one was off the books. No oversight, no audits, no transparency. He told clients he had a special strategy, split strike conversion. He claimed to buy stocks, hedge with options, and make consistent profits regardless of market conditions. That in no trades, no investments, just money coming in and being used to pay old clients. The classic Ponzi scheme reborn, the face of trust. What made Madoff different from every other con man? He was not loud, he was not flashy, he was respectable. He became a founding chairman of NASDAQ. He rubbed shoulders with billionaires, regulators, senators, tailored suits, and had a silver tongue. Even the SEC, America's financial watchdog, trusted him, and trust was his most powerful weapon. He turned people away from investing with him to make it seem exclusive. The more exclusive it felt, the more people wanted in. People begged to be part of his fund. Celebrities, royalty, billionaires, pension funds, Holocaust survivors, charities. They handed over everything because Madoff made them believe they were lucky to be included. And for years, he delivered monthly statements, showed beautiful returns. Even when the market crashed, were created by an ancient IBM computer in his office. He had employees backdate trades.
To make everything look legitimate. Some of them had no idea what they were part of. Others suspected. A few knew. Still the money flowed. Between 1980 and 2000, Madoff's returns never dipped below 10%. He managed billions and kept clients from pulling their money out, and kept clients from pulling their money out by promising steady growth and exclusivity. But the fraud had a weakness. It only worked if more money came in than went out. And by the mid-2, that balance was growing precarious. The collapse, 2008. In 2008, the global financial crisis struck. Markets crashed, investors panicked. Billions in redemption requests hit Madoff's firm in a matter of weeks. He did not have the money. It had never been invested. It was gone in December 2008. The walls finally crumbled. Madoff confessed to his sons, Mark and Andrew, that it was all one big lie. They turned him in immediately on December 11th, 2008. Madoff was arrested by the FBI. The truth exploded across headlines. Wall Street froze. Victims cried. Regulators scrambled to explain how they had missed the biggest financial fraud in history. Cost of betrayal. The damage was unimaginable. More than 37,000 victims across 136 countries. Charities collapsed. Retirements vanished. Families fell into poverty. Some victims took their own lives. Even his own family could not survive the storm. His son, Mark Madoff, died by suicide 2 years later. His son, Andrew, died of cancer. Saying the stress from the scandal destroyed him. His wife, Ruth, was ostracized and stripped of wealth. Bernard Madoff had not just stolen money. Bernard Madoff stood before a federal judge. He expressed remorse, but offered little detail. Victims stared as he was sentenced to 150 years in prison, the maximum. As he left the courtroom, one man shouted, "Die in hell." The final years, 2010 to 2021. Now, just a prisoner with a number 617 to 7054. He gave a few interviews, he claimed remorse, but many believed he still clung to pride, still viewed himself as a misunderstood genius. In April 2021, Madoff died in prison, age 82. And no fortune, no redemption, just a legacy soaked in deception. How he did it? The perfect lie to understand Bernard Madoff's deception is to step inside the mind of a man. Who could look you in the eyes and smile while he stole everything you had? It to the heart of his scam was a method that even professionals could not detect. The split strike conversion leak told investors he used a complex trading strategy. Buy blue chip stocks, protect downside risk using put options, cap gains with call options. It sounded safe, sophisticated, but the reality, he never placed a single trade. The documents, charts, and portfolios, they were printed by an old IBM S400 computers in a locked room. Nicknamed the House of Secrets, he kept it under tight control. No outside auditors, no independent verifications. Even employees in the same building had no clue how he made the profits, only that the money never seemed to stop. There was no Wall Street firm more consistently perfect than Madoff's. And no one ever asked why the Pyramid of Illusions, Madoff's Ponzi scheme, had a unique, almost elegant structure. It ran on layers of separation built to shield the truth. Feeder funds, hedge funds, and private banks collected money from high-net-worth clients and institutions, then funneled it to Madoff. They took commissions, but did not ask questions. Madoff's inner circle, trusted lieutenants, ran logistics. They moved money, faked statements, and managed withdrawals. Some claimed ignorance. Others turned a blind eye. Investors, some knew Madoff's returns defied reality, but they did not care. They were making money until they weren't. Regulators in the SEC, despite multiple red flags, whistleblower warnings, and inconsistencies, the Securities and Exchange Commission failed to act for nearly 2 decades. Why? Because Madoff was respected, connected, untouchable. The day the money died, it all came crashing down in 2008 as markets collapsed and panic swept the world. Investors began pulling money from everywhere, including from Madoff. They requested $7 billion in redemptions, but Madoff only had a few $100 million in his account. There was no profit, no reserve, just a trail of lies stretching back 4 decades. So on December 10th, 2008, Madoff confessed to his sons, "It's all one big lie, just a giant Ponzi scheme." They contacted their lawyers. The next day, he was arrested, and with that, the illusion shattered. Fallout, the numbers were devastating. $65 billion in paper losses, $18 billion in real principal stolen, over 37,000 victims in more than 130 countries. The names were even more shocking. Actor Kevin Bacon, filmmaker Steven Spielberg, Nobel Peace Prize winner Elie Wiesel's foundation, small-time retirees, Holocaust survivors, cancer, charities, pension funds for teachers and firefighters. Madoff spared no one. The damage was total, not just wealth, but trust in the entire financial system. Victims left behind, the emotional toll was just as severe. Some victims took their own lives. One fund manager who lost billions, entrusted by others, died by suicide in his office. Others fell into poverty, depression, or had to return to work in old age. One woman, 72 years old, had trusted Madoff with her retirement. After the collapse, she said, "I don't even blame him. I blame myself for trusting." But it was not just about money. It was about betrayal. Madoff betrayed thousands and smiled while doing it. Family in ruins. Even Madoff's own family could not escape the fallout. His wife, Ruth Madoff, lost nearly everything. She was allowed to keep $2.5 million, but lived in disgrace and exile. His sons, Mark and Andrew, both worked at the firm, though not on the fraudulent side. Still, the shame consumed them. In 2010, on the second anniversary of Madoff's arrest, Mark Madoff died by suicide, hanging himself while his 2-year-old son slept nearby in 2014. Andrew Madoff died of cancer, saying the stress accelerated his illness. Both sons never spoke to their father again after the confession. 150 years. In 2009, Bernie Madoff stood before Judge Denny Chincombe, composed, hollow. The courtroom was packed with victims, some sobbing, others enraged. He was sentenced to 150 years in federal prison, the maximum allowed. The judge called the fraud extraordinarily evil, a breach of trust of historic proportions. Madoff offered no defense. He accepted it because there was nothing left to deny. He had taken everything. The prison years in prison. Madoff became just another inmate. He served time at Butner Federal Correctional Complex in North Carolina. He mopped floors, ate in the mess hall, took medications for chronic illness. He wrote letters to journalists. He gave a few interviews, some remorseful, others cold. He claimed he began the Ponzi scheme in the early 1990s.
Though prosecutors believed it started much earlier, he called himself a monster yet never showed true accountability. On April 14, 2021, Bernard Madoff died in prison from kidney disease. He was 82. No funeral, no public ceremony. His grave was unmarked. The man who once sat atop a $65 billion empire did as nothing more than a criminal number in the federal system, a void that cannot be filled. The legacy of Madoff is not just the theft of wealth. It is the erosion of trust, the collapse of faith in finance, and the reminder that evil can wear a friendly smile. Billions were eventually recovered through lawsuits and clawbacks. He changed how the world views money, institutions, and human nature. The master illusionist. Bernard Madoff was more than a fraudster. He was a master illusionist who tricked the smartest minds in finance, who preyed on the vulnerable and the elite alike. He used no weapons, he drew no blood, and yet he left behind one of the largest fields of victims in history, all because they believed, and that was his greatest weapon of all.
The case may be closed, but criminology never sleeps. Like and subscribe at Join Criminology and step deeper into the dark with us.